How's it going, guys? Coffee here. Today I wanted to go over the new Transfigured gems that we've been given. I have the list of the actual baseline gems over here on the side so we can take a look to actually see what has changed on them. So for Absolution of Inspiring here, this increases and reductions to minion damage also apply to the skills damage. That appears to be new. I'm not seeing that on this other one here. So it looks like it's increasing the base damage of the actual attack for the person using it. So some more base damage for the caster. That just seems like it's probably a pure buff. Let's see. The base damage is the same. What else? What was the give up for this? It almost doesn't even look like there's any downside to it whatsoever for doing it. No, everything appears to be exactly the same outside of the increases and reductions to minion damage also applying to it. That seems really, really strong. They'd already kind of teased this one before, Animate Guardian of Smiting. This one makes the Animate Guardian actually use Smite. So it uses the Smite attack instead of just like whatever default attack that an AG would normally be using. We got Arc of Surging here, which looks like it would basically increase the clear a bit, but the single target damage is going to be much lower because you're not getting the more damage for every chain on it. I don't really see this one being used because Arc didn't really have that many issues with clear, because typically if you're going to be using Arc, you're going to be using it with Impulsa anyways for explosions to compensate for that. So I don't really see this getting use out of anything here. We got Arc of Oscillating here. Oh, why is the damage so much higher on this though? What is this? I want to see base arc now. Wiki, 200 to 1200. So I guess this Arc of Surging is presuming that you had at least like 5 or 6 other chains on it. Maybe this is better than I think, just because the base damage on this is actually going to be double of what you're already seeing on base arc. You are getting a little bit more crit chance on it as well, and more effectiveness of added damage. Wow, these... So it seems like all of these Transfigured gems are really, really pushing the new gems kind of to the limit compared to the baseline version. So they're really, really pushing. Basically, everyone should be using a Transfigured gem, probably of some sort for their skill, and it's just going to end up being a pure upgrade, similar to how enchants were, just even stronger. We got Arc Oscillating here, which looks like Arc keeps its chain, but it gets like an additional chain that a secondary Arc. So it's like when it chains off to one target, it'll still hit a secondary target as well. So it does a little bit better clear, but the damage is significantly lower unless you have more remaining chains. So in order to have this one match the baseline, you'd have to be basically hitting your target first, probably, and maybe if it bounces back immediately, then you'd have enough chains. But because the damage on it is a lot lower, this one would obviously scale better if you're getting more sources of chain. But yeah, that's another one to do. I presume you would only want to be using this one if you're ending up basically stacking a ton of chains. So that you're actually, really taking advantage of that more damage multiplier there. Barrage of Volley Fire. What is this doing? Okay, so I don't even think this one was new. Someone was asking about this. I think I saw it on Reddit already. But it looks like there are more projectiles being basically fired at the very beginning and at the very end of this one compared to normal Barrage. Let's see. Yeah, because these are just sequentially, but it's not firing like a big burst all at once at the very beginning or end. Blade Blast of Unloading here. Okay. Okay, so this one triggers off of Blade Vortex blades orbiting you. So they did change Blade Vortex and a lot of the blade skills to no longer drop... they no longer had what's it called on them at all. they were no longer dropping blades. So I guess this is their new way of kind of using Blade Vortex without the setup for having it actually drop blades on the ground for Blade Blast. Instead, they want people using this situation here with Blade Vortex here. It's just going to actually absorb the Blade Vortex that's actually spinning around you instead of actually dropping blades down on the ground. And then you're getting 100% more AoE per Blade Vortex. So, I mean, that's going to be pretty big AoE on this, most likely. What is that going to be? At least like 1,000%. It's pretty big. Blade Blast the dagger detonation here. What is this? Your equipped daggers add to this damage. 580% of the damage of equipped dagger. What is it? Volcanus is the one, I believe, that has... what is it? What is the name of that? Of that, dagger. I'm thinking of... Let me see here. Dagger. I do not know. I'm forgetting the name of it. Volcanus, yeah. This has pretty high... I remember this having pretty high flat damage on it. So that's 250 DPS. Plus, I believe it still had some actual extra stats on it for other things. So that extra physical damage against ignited enemies, things like that. This would probably still end up being for like a setup where you're still actually converting this to fire. But, yeah, that seems like it potentially could do some big things if you build around it. So I'm really liking what I'm seeing so far with the transfigurations. It seems like they were not afraid to really kind of truly make these different. You know, this is kind of the thing that everyone was really hoping for originally with the existence of the alternate quality gems. You know, they didn't vary from the main skills as far as they really could have, and as far as, you know, they really should have. And it seems like with the Transfigured gems, they're actually doing that, and they're willing to really take something and make it drastically different instead of just adding a little bit of extra damage here or there. Let's see. Blade Flurry of Incision in a circle in front of you while channeling to and around the enemy. Okay, so the crit chance is going up with this, I guess. Blade Flurry. Yeah. So instead of more damage per stage, you are getting more crit chance per stage. That doesn't seem good. I'm confused. Yeah, I don't know. That seems like you're giving up a lot. I guess if you're just trying to use this as like a cast on crit scenario, maybe. That's the only thing I can really see this being used for, but it's like it's like a name lock skill, so it doesn't really... I don't know. I'm not really a fan of that. Blade Flurry doesn't have the biggest AoE in the first place, so using this for cast on crit seems really weird, but I guess you could do it without having to actually invest very much in crit, so maybe there's some potential there. Blade Trap of Great Swords. Does Blade Trap just not normally work with a Great Sword? Is that what's going on? Oh yeah, so Blade Trap is normally with one-handers, and this is allowing you to use Blade Trap with a two-hander. And what is the... Okay, but the difference is you have a cooldown on it now instead of just being able to use it as much as you want. Blade Trap Laceration, what's this? Rotates one time, so it rotates less, but it deals more damage with bleeding, but because you're doing bleeding, you don't need it to be rotating as many times. So this one's going to be for ailments. I mean, there's potential there. It doesn't really stand out as anything exciting. It's kind of like what we're seeing with Arc, with being able to stack chains, or like with this Absolution, which is just a big amount of just baseline damage for the actual like minion user themselves. We've got Bladefall over here, which is... Let me see. Bladefall. What do we got? Okay, so the lingering blades parts of Bladefall is completely gone. Base damage is lower on this. We are getting more damage per volley here, though, which you weren't getting before, as well as more critical chance per volley. So, this one, again, going to be another thing, stacking volleys in order to get the base damage up. It looks like your base damages are going to be like way higher just because of the fact that it's going to take maybe 2 or 3 before it's already higher than the base damage before. And you have more volleys total already for it. So that should be pretty good, pretty exciting. Bladefall of Impaling. Impale. Oh, so we're getting spell Impale again with this. Which, yeah, I mean, it has potential. But I do not recall what the tree would look like, but it's something someone can build around. It's worth trying. It's probably going to be okay. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. That one seems actually interesting. Blade Storm of Uncertainty. More attack speed when you're in Blood Blade Storm. Sand Blade Storms grant movement speed. Maximum of 4 at a time. Let me see Blade Storm. What do we got going on? Why is it Uncertainty? So you get less damage while bleeding. More attack speed's the same. You get 1 extra Blade Storm, basically. At the cost of giving up. You get more base damage for the attack damage. You get more effectiveness of added damage. You get an extra Blade Storm. But you get less bleeding damage. And that's the only difference that I'm actually seeing here. So, that's just a straight buff. There's nothing else to it. It's just a straight buff. Blight of Contagion, I think we saw this one already. This one can be spread by Contagion. They mentioned here. So that's going to be the same Blight of Atrophy. This reduces their life regen on the mob. So it's going to be similar like a Frost Bomb, basically. That's kind of cool. Let's see, Blight. Yeah, so it reduces their movement speed and also reduces their life regen. Yeah. Secondary duration is much... Base secondary duration is much higher as well. Damage is the same. Damage on Contagion one is a little bit higher as well. But because the new one... So the secondary duration is lower on this, though. Yeah. So you get more base damage, but you don't get the debuff of the actual slow and reduced regen. But if you want to use the reduced slow and regen, then you can just run a slower base damage here and have a much higher secondary duration. Blink Arrow of Bombarding Clones. I wonder if this is going to be similar. Oh, so these Blink Arrow clones use Rain of Arrows now. That's kind of cool. And then we got these ones that use Elemental Hit. Nice. Boneshatter of Complex Trauma. Okay. What are we getting here? That is way more damage per trauma. Oh, yikes. Okay. So, after looking at the Boneshatter numbers here on the new ones for Complex Trauma, when I originally pogged out about it, I didn't even realize the thing that mentioned you can basically have a maximum of 9 trauma stacks before it's going to reset. With that, it looks like you're going to be getting much better damage for clear. So basically anything you're hitting for less than 5 seconds, you're going to be better off using the Complex Trauma. But anything for bossing or anything you're actually hitting for more than 5 seconds, you're going to want to swap to the base Boneshatter. Basically what this means is we're going to end up with 2 Boneshatter gems each, and we're going to have to swap them around whenever we're doing really hard content, probably. At a certain point, you'll probably just have enough to just use Complex Trauma for everything, but, you know, it's always good to have both, or just make sure you're leveling in an offhand or whatever. So let's go back to the rest of the gems. Gonna be wild here. Double stun duration. What is this? This is no trauma at all? That seems... Okay, this isn't... Boneshatter is nothing here. What is this? There's no damage per trauma on this Boneshatter of Carnage. What is this? What is the point of using this skill? I don't understand. Why would anyone ever use this? Alright, so next up we got Burning Arrow of Vigor. What do we got here? Added fire damage equal to 25.4% of max life. I presume that's the new part here. I do not remember that ever being on Burning Arrow. Yeah, makes sense here. But there's no base damage on it. So it's like the same trade-off that you're getting with Righteous Fire here, where you are trading the base damage of the skill in order to basically have something you can scale higher based off of your max life or something else. Kind of interesting, has some potential. Let's see, Caustic Arrow of Poison. It's just poison on hit, I believe, right? Because there was no poison on this actually before. Yeah, there was no chance to poison on this before. Base damage is way lower. This is basically like using Caustic Arrow purely as... That's so weird. So it still says that it does chaos damage in an area on impact, but it doesn't state... Like, there's no base degen. Like, there's no Caustic Arrow part. So this is weird. I don't know how this is going to work, because there's no mention of any base chaos damage per second on this anymore. I don't know if this is just like a tooltip error and they're showing like what changed, and it still has the same base chaos damage per second. They're going to have to get these fixed. It seems like they kind of rushed these out a little bit, so not really sure on that one. What do we got here? Cleave of Rage. When double wielding, deal 60% damage from each weapon combined. Gain 2 rage. Okay, so it just cleave that gives you rage. Alright. We'll see here. Cold Snap of Power. Power charge on crit. Same cooldown. Burst base radiator. Let's see. Cold Snap. What was it before? AoE radius. They're like changing the way that they're... I guess burst base radius 2.5 meters. Is that 25 units instead of the 16 units they were saying before, since they're actually showing everything in meters now? Lower cast time, same cooldown. You can't store a charge on this. Crit chance is higher. Added damage is higher. Base damage is the same, but there's no cold dot on it. You just get a power charge. And you can't actually store extra uses on this one. I don't really see this being used, but I could be wrong. Consecrated Path of Endurance. More AoE per endurance charge, more attack damage per endurance charge. I mean, it gives it a chance, but... I mean, the biggest issue with Consecrated Path still is this, like, forced conversion here, right? Because a lot of the melee builds, you really basically want to either be fully converted to fire, which isn't really a thing anymore of today's day and age. Like, everything really wants to be kind of taking advantage of Impale because it's just a bit stronger. And with Consecrated Path, because of the fact that it's already requiring it to convert 50% of the physical damage to fire, you can't take advantage of Impale, and then you just have to put in a little bit more work if you're trying to run Avatar Fire or something else. So it's some extra damage, but it's not like going to be enough, I don't think, to really put it anywhere big. Let's see here. 80% of base. Attack damage is way lower of base because of it, because of the loss. So you'd need more than 5 endurance charges, I guess, in order to even justify. I don't even think that would work out. Like, I think this just comes out behind of the other Consecrated Paths no matter what. So interesting, but they might have to work on some of these numbers for a lot of stuff. Contagion of Subsiding. Spreads when affected enemy dies. Does Contagion... I don't think Contagion spreads when something dies right now. No, but that's actually kind of interesting. Wait, the base damage... Huh? Why is this just way higher? Oh, okay. Every time it spreads, it only deals 3/4 as much damage as before. So it's Contagion, but it has higher base damage. It's basically something you can kind of start off with, but it doesn't scale as hard as the other one. Like, it's going to branch out a couple times. And I think already by the time it hits the second mob, it's already lower than your Contagion from before. But it does spread on its own without having to use ED. I guess it saves a button. It's always interesting, I suppose. Contagion of Transference. Unleash a vial contagion on enemies, dealing chaos damage over time. If it's hit while affected by contagion, the debuff spreads. Okay, that's better. So you want to use this and make sure you're actually hitting as well in order to spread. So this one, I think Soul Rend has... let's see. Soul Rend? Wait, what's this skill called? Oh, I can't remember now. The cat skill. I kind of don't remember the name of this skill. Soul Rend. It is Soul Rend. I'm second guessing myself. Soul Rend. This does have hit damage on it. Yeah, so you just basically want to use this with Soul Rend as well. And then you can kind of take advantage of both, and you're basically going to be kind of... Probably this would make more sense for like a Spell Slinger setup, something like that. And then you'd be able to really bounce this around with Contagion, and just basically use Contagion with like some sort of Spell Slinger setup. Or something like that, or like a some sort of triggered setup to basically actually use Soul Rend in order to actually spread this. Sounds interesting, sounds pretty cool. Base damage is a lot higher than base Contagion as well, so that actually seems really interesting. Crackling Lance of Branching. Bigger branching angle, more AoE. I mean, Crackling Lance I know had a lot of work to kind of do. Base damage is higher, but no intensity bonus. So, let's see. When you had 2 intensity, basically, it was better than this, but less than that, it wasn't. Has potential, better clear, looks like, more branching, so instead of it getting thinner, this is basically better for clear, looks like. Disintegration. Max shock chance, really big lightning damage on it. Okay, so this is like a single target version, basically, just straight one big lance beam. Cremation of Exhuming here. What does this do? Maximum 1 geyser, fires 4 projectiles. Does the same thing. Explosions deal base fire damage to corpse life. Explode a nearby corpse and firing projectiles. Oh, that's kind of cool. So it basically is just going to be blowing up a bunch of extra corpses with it. Interesting. 6 geysers at a time. So more than before. Projectiles are way slower though. Let's see. Cremation. Oh no. So it does fire 1 every second still. This one is fire 1 every second. Base duration 8. Same base damage on this one, but it has the explosions. I presume the explosions are dealing this basically 6% of corpse max life. And this one is 6 geysers. Fires projectiles 10% faster. No explosion damage from the corpse. That's the difference. No explosion damage from the corpse, but you can have more geysers down at once. Probably better, I mean, if you happen to have this for... Oh, the base damage on this is lower too, but you can have 6 geysers, so... I don't really see when you'd use this, realistically. Like, Cremation's more of like a leveling thing still, but... I mean, I guess you could find some sort of Desecrate Spell Cascade kind of setup with Cremation, but... Seems like a lot of work. Don't know if that one's going to work out. Cyclone of Tumult. Channel the skill to move towards the target. Let's see here. More AoE for extra range. 1 stage. That's the same. Less movement speed per stage. Tumult. Why is this? Like clone. Just slightly bigger AoE. More attack speed per stage. More attack speed per stage. This is kind of closer to... but you're going to have lower... So you're going to have lower movement speed, but more attack speed. So this actually might bring it closer to old Cyclone. You lose stages faster. Everything else is pretty much the same. Oh no, you get your stages slower on this. So you get your stages slower, you lose them faster, but you do attack a lot faster. And you have bigger AoE while you're actually cycloning. So, I mean, this one's probably still going to come out ahead, but we're going to have to take a look and see. Detonate does scavenging. That's the giant one they already showcased us. It has to be like the created corpses or corpses from mobs, so you can't use it off of skill corpses. So probably does not have a place. Well, I mean, I guess outside of using it to like one-shot Ubers and stuff, right? But targets a corpse, deals damage around the corpse. This is going to be the same here. Some base fire damage here. Less corpse life. Chain reaction, let's see. Oh, it will continue. Okay. The explosion is not affected by modifiers to spell damage and cannot be reflected. That is worse. It will continue to target other corpses in the area with a shorter delay between each one until it runs out of corpses. Or has destroyed 8 corpses. Okay. That's trash. Discharge of misery. Let's see here. Base radius 2 meters. Let's see, discharge. It's been a while since I used this skill. Okay, a lot lower damage per charge. Chance to deal. Okay, so it's going to be a lot lower damage per charge, but you can use this for ailments. So this is basically like the one with the gem that they were giving us, like the trigger gem. So this is going to be better if you're trying to use discharge for ailments, but you are going to be scaling a lot less than you would be with this. So it's basically how many charges? What would be the breakpoint here? 60% less damage with ailments would be already like 1,000. So as long as you have... Yeah, there will be a breakpoint here where you're actually better off using this for, like, if you're trying to ignite, or using one of the new tinctures, maybe something like that, to where all damage can either poison or all damage can burn or ignite or whatever it may be. So might be some situation like that where you can use discharge, this new one. Divine Ire of Holy Lightning. We got your releases unleash energy in a powerful burst around you. Let's see here. Divine Ire of Holy Lightning. Damages 14 nearby enemies when you gain stages. Divine Ire. I do actually need to look this one up because I haven't used this one in a while either. So base damage slightly higher, still converts. Damages more enemies nearby when you gain stages. Has less total AoE though. And then the beam deals the same. No, the beam does much less damage than the other one, but it does more ailment damage. Yeah, so the other base Divine Ire, which I think they already changed this one as well, to where it doesn't have like the ailment, the separation for ailment damage versus hit damage anymore. So we're actually going to need to see like the base Divine Ire. You know what, they have it here, right? Divine Ire. Divine Ire. Let's see. 240, 100. Nope. So I guess the wiki's already been updated. Okay. Yeah. So this one is going to be basically if you're trying to do everything about. So it just damages more enemies nearby, but everything else about it is pretty much is just worse. So I mean, I guess we'd have to see what it looks like when it's actually damaging enemies nearby. I guess it's just going to be shooting little beams of lightning right around. This one here, channeling draws in disintegration. So bigger beam here, lower damage per stage. So bigger AoE at the trade of damage. Higher base damage though, so maybe it's actually not as much of a damage loss as I think. I don't feel like doing the math. Someone can do the math. This one might actually be worth it. The other one I don't think so. But this one, just to have the giant like Kamehameha beam, might actually see some play here on this one. Dominating blow of inspiring. So I presume, let's see here. Oh. Okay, what's this change? Dominating blow. Is this just giving them a buff or something? Base secondary duration the same. Increased. Okay, increases and reductions to minion damage apply to the skill damage. That's the difference. But you get less normal sentinels. Okay. Interesting. I mean, it's just more buffs, right? I think you're barely better off using that if you want to actually be able to hit yourself and actually be taking advantage of some of the damage. Double strike of impaling. Impale. This is a meme. There's no way this is gonna be used by anything. Same with this one here. More attack speed for each stage. I mean, this one isn't actually dead. This one I will say with probably certainty that Matha will absolutely make a build with this and do something crazy with it, which will be interesting. But yeah, really nice to see. The Boneshatter ones are interesting. This one I do not understand because I don't see how this skill is usable whatsoever, why you'd ever want to use it, because the trauma thing is entirely removed, so it's not Boneshatter anymore. So other than that, you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments down below, and I'll be more than happy to answer them. And other than that, see you in the next one.